Yes, let's go. Urban Hope, near and dear to my heart. Some cool news. We have found our home basketball court for our future basketball program that the coach will be coaching. And it's been amazing, as an amazing blessing, because we got it for free. And we have it pretty much Monday to Friday, anytime we like, from a certain time. So we got it for free. Really amazing. So thank you for anyone who's been praying for that. It's coming to fruition. It's coming together. This one student from Urban Hope who has grown up through the system, he's been in and out of Urban Hope. He has gotten himself into a lot of trouble throughout his life. He actually went to jail at one point in his life. Should have been in jail, locked up for a long time, but got lucky, got out on a technicality, and is now totally dedicating his life to God and serving and being an influence in the community. He's brought many kids that have been stuck in different gangs to our Urban Hope program. He's brought them out of those gangs and out of selling drugs, that cycle of selling drugs. So it's been really cool to see him grow. And this is what you guys have a chance to support and be a part of. If you want to send any kind of blessing that way, you can check out sportsreverends.com or churchinthecity.ca, and you can give. You can write down Urban Hope there. All the funds that are donated to Urban Hope goes directly to the programs that we run. So you can check that out. Thanks for making an impact, and we're going to keep on rolling. And I'm excited to see Coach kind of take over. There's a bunch of kids that can actually play and have some talent instead of coaching some schmucks like me and Drew and a bunch of other Winnipeg country boys. So good luck with that, Coach, and we're excited to see what happens.
Let's not denigrate how good you guys were, okay? You guys were great. But yeah, super excited for that. Things are, finally moving in the right direction, so that's really awesome. All right, I am super excited for this topic. A lot of things can be said, should be said, and it's something that it has been kind of a timely thing, right? Like, no matter what age group you're in, you've probably had this conversation, and it's the real question that I want to ask is, should athletes and or coaches be considered role models? Now, before we really delve into this, I want to read you what what the guy with the most points in NBA history has to say about somebody who is very polarizing. So if you haven't seen this, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar dropped some, usually I would say drop some knowledge as a reference, but he just dropped some thoughts. And this is what he had to say about Kyrie Irving. So Kyrie Irving would be dismissed as a comical buffoon if it weren't for his influence over young people who look up to athletes. When I look at some of the athletes who have used their status to actually improve society, and this is a great list here: Colin Kaepernick, LeBron James, Muhammad Ali, Bill Russell, Billie Jean King, Arthur Ashe, and more, it becomes clear how much Irving has tarnished the reputations of all athletes who strive to be seen as more than dumb jocks. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar on Kyrie Irving. I'll give you the first word here, Drew. Coaches, athletes, should they be role models at the professional level?
Well, I don't think there's anything we can do to stop them from being role model. Like, should they be? Probably not. Like, they're playing child's games, right? Like, on a professional level. Are they? Yes. And I think athletes need to be aware of the impact that they are having on kids. However, with Kareem sort of takes an angle on here that says you have an influence on kids, which is good unless you have opposing views to what mainstream media wants, and then it tarnishes the idea of being a role model. So should they be? Probably not. Are they? Yes. Is there anything we can do about that? I don't know. Like, who are we supposed to, like, I know me growing up, like, athletes were my role models. I remember having this Bible that had all these Christian athletes would have posts or like throughout the Bible. It was so cool to look up to athletes that are also believers. But sometimes we put them on too high of a pedestal, right? And then I look as a great example is Josh Hamilton. I don't know if you know the story, Josh Hamilton in the MLB, uh, a Christian guy, but struggles a lot with addictions. And it seems like every time he would, fall off the wagon, it became this big thing of, oh, he's influenced all these kids, right? And it's like that's a lot of pressure to put on a guy that's just trying to play a game, right? So I don't know. I'm sort of talking in circles, but Dan, go ahead.
Yeah, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, also known as like Ferdinand Alois Alcindor Jr. That's his real name, and he changed his name to fit
You Googled that. You Googled that.
I knew his Lou
He just read
Alcindor.
that. He just read that off his phone.
No, I just did. Yeah, I did. I knew his name was Lou Alcindor, but I didn't know it was Ferdinand Louis Alcindor Jr. That's his real name. He changed his name for his religion, his Muslim religion that he believes. And this guy, throughout his career was quote unquote silent on those social issues that he's been talking about. And he's pointing to basically, like, I still don't really understand why he has such a hatred for Kyrie Irving. Just because of the vaccination difference in opinion, because of what he stood for. Because Kyrie, for the most part, probably is aligned with him in many of those thoughts and beliefs that he has. I would think. I don't actually know that, but the question is, should athletes and coaches be role models? I think, yeah, they I agree with what Drew said. We don't really have an option in that they are. I wish that there was a way to highlight areas that highlight scripture and areas that highlight the beliefs that we as Christians believe in, and that many others believe in, if they're Christian or not. I wish there was a way to accentuate that, not the things of the athletes that are highlighted now. For example, if you look at the greats, you look at Michael Jordan, look at Tom Brady right now who's going through it, Wayne Gretzky, they've all had such family issues. They've all had divorces, and Tom Brady's going through that right now. And Tom Brady's fighting the idea of, trying to cling on. He's already won the most championships as a player. He's trying to cling on to that and hold on to that. And it's affecting his family, and family should be the number one thing, right? Family should be the most important thing, and I think they're missing those kind of beliefs and positive attributes that we should be sharing, and the things that are being highlighted are things that are wrong. So I can go into those if you want, but
the problem is that the athletes who are quote unquote like family men aren't the ones that are flashy on the online postings and TikTok videos and Juju Smith-Schuster dancing in the like those aren't the kind of guys that get highlighted. So you sort of have to dig for the type of role model that you're describing. Like I remember Philip Rivers had 8 kids or something, and that was a point of jokes, right?
8 kids with one woman.
Yeah.
His actual family.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And he was sort of like the butt end jokes because of it, right? Even though what's wrong? Not that I want 8 kids, but
you're on your way.
On my way.
But
I think I can see both of your points, and I think one of the issue is people see athletics as the way to end a cycle of poverty, right? How many NBA spots are made each year? There's 2 drafts, and it's not just people from Canada and the United States now, it's the whole world. How many people make the NFL? Yeah, sure, there's a ton of rounds in the draft, but guys who actually get rostered is a very small amount. And by we, I mean society and, certain cultures have said, hey, the only way to be successful is to be an athlete, right? And I watched Coach Carter the other day just because I was bored and I wanted to watch something that I kind of, liked and didn't have to really pay attention. And this kind of shapes the way I coach my teams. Is the athletics part is one aspect of it, but what are the life skills that I'm trying to impart to the men, mostly boys that I've coaching, right? And hard work, teamwork, diligence, all of these things are important. And you apply that to studying. How many kids in poverty-stricken areas are actually quite smart, and they have, they have the drive, they have the ability, but no one's investing in them to say, hey, yeah, okay, LeBron James is great, but unfortunately you're not 6'8", 240 pounds. Go study to be a doctor. Go study to be a teacher. Go study to be an accountant, right? And and of course, we see on like Sports Center and the magazines and all the money that's flowing into athletics, like this is it. This is, the best thing around. But the actual percentages of you being able to do that is so minimal. And so should athletes and coaches be models? No, I don't think they should be role models. Right? Now, people who exemplify, positive attitudes and positive, thoughts, whatever you're doing, you can use that as a role model. I know for me, I think back to, my grade 7, 8 coaches and the impact they've had on me, and like Bruce Bartell, Remps, even Nick Jansen, like these men imparted more than just, hey, look, go play sports and be good, right? They talked about the Bible, they talked about life skills, they talked about who you should be as a man of God, right? And Drew, your question is, what can we do about it? It starts at the grassroots level, right? You're probably not telling your kids, hey, go worship Tom Brady. Don't go be the next Tom Brady. You're not, you're telling them, hey, be a man of God, read the Bible, pray every day, that kind of stuff. And you're putting them in positive directions. And I don't think we can, flip the switch and become, hey, go praise our teachers and things like that. But it starts at the grassroots level. It starts at, where do we spend our efforts and what do we teach our kids? And it's tough because I think you nailed it on the head, saying the impact of social media is so different, right? Like Wayne Gretzky probably didn't have to worry about, sure, he had to worry about paparazzi, but he didn't have to worry about having an Instagram account and posting his life on there. He could still live in relative anonymity. And so the impact of what media has done and trying to find the next it thing is also impacts who we idolize. If there was a Christian football player, and he was all over Instagram and was promoting Jesus and was one of the top talents, I wonder what kind of response we would get.
I'll tell you, that's
Tim Tebow.
I think that's one of the biggest issues that maybe we're not hitting on is that if, let's say, there's a guy that speaks up and speaks on these polarizing issues, speaks on what actually Black Lives Matter stands for and goes against what they stand for because what they stand for is wrong. They're going to be shot down. They're going to be tossed out of the league. If they speak on abortion, they're going to be tossed out of the league, right? Because that's quote unquote hate speech.
Well, have we heard anything from Jonathan Isaac since he first spoke out?
He wrote a book.
I think he has.
Yeah, he's written a book. It's actually right here behind me. And it's a really good book speaking on it, and he's been promoting it everywhere he's going. So he's been speaking at different conferences too, but he's not highlighted at all because he's been out the league for so long. But he's supposed to play this year, hopefully. But he's one of the few guys that are actually standing up and has the quote-unquote criteria to speak because he's the right shade for his skin, right? Like, it's ridiculous.
And he's better at the game than Tim Tebow was at football. So
yeah.
That's true. That's true.
If Tim Tebow was a great quarterback, that would have been a way better story, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I don't want to dismiss
Yeah, go ahead.
like an athlete's rank and where they are. Because to be a professional athlete is incredible, right? Honestly, like you can just tell the difference between a pro and an amateur. But even if you're, the sixth guy off the bench, you should know that you have influence,
Hmm.
and you should use that influence regardless of what it is. I think it's Clay Matthews. Drew, correct me if I'm wrong. To have like him and somebody else started a charity in the NFL to build wells in Africa. And
I don't know.
yeah, maybe I only thought Clay Matthews because of the Packers tie, but that kind of stuff. Why aren't we hearing about that? You know, that is athletes. Maybe believers and non-believers coming together for a great cause. It's been proven that if you can provide the basic necessities for people, they flourish. Water is one of them. And so, and the reason why I really like this question is because you as pastors, you both have outsized influence on your communities, right? Like when introduce yourself, well, I'm Pastor Dan or I'm Pastor Drew. There's a connotation that goes with that, right? And maybe you may not like the connotation all the time, but you guys have your lives. I won't say micro examined like athletes do, but there's a certain expectation from you guys, whether it's fair or not. And you guys live with that. I would say you live with that burden in everything that you do. Is that a fair thing to say?
Yeah, it's fair. I think, Dan, you probably get this too. It's like people, when they find out that I'm a pastor, it's like they almost get nervous around. Like they almost censor themselves because they feel like, oh, I can't say certain things. It's like I don't want to be looked at like a role, like, because that's not the message of Jesus. It's the message of Jesus is that we're all sinners. We've all fallen. We're all equal.
Yep.
Yeah, this is the calling on my life to preach the word of God, but that doesn't mean I'm not in need of the preaching as well. So whenever I'm preaching, I try and include myself because I'm not above anyone else. I'm not better than anybody. Like, you guys know me better than most. So yeah, I don't know, Dan, how you feel about that.
100% agree. I literally have playing basketball. People will find out I'm a pastor. They will apologize for swearing beside me.
Yeah.
They'll take it easy on me until I give them an elbow and they wake up and say, "Hey, let's actually play." I 100% agree with all that. And the only standard that we're held higher to is God will judge us on a tougher standard, is what Scripture says as pastors. But we aren't any different. We are the same. We're all on the same level as everybody. So I don't ever like being put up on a pedestal, like Drew's saying.
But I think the point is that we can't help that. And I think it's the same with athletes, right? Like, they can't help the platform they're put on.
Right.
Absolutely.
So whether we like it or not, we're there.
And like, you look at Charles Barkley. He didn't want to be a role model, right? He said it in his playing days, but he's forced upon him. And what makes it tough for these athletes is, unfortunately, most of them aren't very educated. Most of them don't really, have many great thoughts on even what they believe. They're so focused on their job, which is perform in their sport, perform as best as they can, and they have to train.
That's what Michael Jordan said in that documentary, right?
Exactly.
Like if you want to follow me, sure, fine, but I'm just doing what I need to do to be the best.
As we wrap up the convo here, what are some good or positive aspects of what a role model should look like? Any thoughts on that? I can start.
You can't say Jesus, Dan.
No, yeah, I always go back to starting with your identity. What are you recognizing yourself in? Are you recognizing yourself in your job or your your gender or your status of fame. What you should be recognizing yourself as created and loved and created in the image of God. That's who you are. Once you know your identity as a role model, you can let that shine throughout your life. So I think you have to start with identity. Pass to you, Drew.
Yeah, I think like one of the buzzwords would be authentic. Like someone who doesn't shy away from the tough issues, even when it's counterculture, right? Someone who doesn't just fall in line with what culture is saying if they don't truly believe it, is something I look for in role models for sure.
And then living that out, exactly, like becoming a good father and representing that in your life. You saw Kobe do that late in his career / after his career, and that was his biggest impact, the biggest positive impact he's ever had, is being a good father and how that affected others.
And I think somebody who's also a good role model is somebody who accepts that they've made a mistake and owns up to it. I think a lot of the time we can see people pushing the blame onto somebody else. It comes to that genuine, authentic person, right? Like, if I make a mistake, I need to own up to it, and that is something that again is counterculture today, at this time and point. So a point in time. So I'm really not sure why Kareem, like you said, Daniel, is all over Kyrie. He picked some interesting characters, like Muhammad Ali for sure. Like Bill Russell was quiet. No, he did fight a lot of racism in Boston.
He stood up with Muhammad Ali, actually. I think Kareem was there too at that tape, like when I just saw it in the OJ documentary. It was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Bill Russell, and the Browns running back.
OJ?
Jim Brown.
Jim Brown. One thing we're seeing happening is the woke on woke war that's happening now, and it's I call it World War III, and you can see it at ESPN from Malika Andrews and Stephen A. Smith going at each other, and you can see it at the girl that was shipped off to a different network fighting with ESPN over the same things, and now you can see it here. Kareem and Kyrie, and even LeBron stepped in today, had a couple comments, basically shouting down Kareem, but no comment on Kareem and all that stuff. So you can see the interfighting happening, because when it break it all down, that's what it's going to lead to, because a lot of it is nonsense, garbage, doesn't make sense, and when you compare it to biblical values, biblical principles, don't even compare. They don't even compare. It's just a mess, and it's going to lead to that, and we're going to see the fall of it.
And because a lot of people don't hold those values, right? It feels like a lot of it is the squeaky wheel gets the grease at this point, right? And at least I know just from the people I interact with on a daily basis, when it comes to gender and it comes to all that kind of stuff, we're all on the same kind of track. And these people aren't Christians either, right? They're people of different faiths, different backgrounds, but this extreme wokeism is very small minority making all sorts of noise. Any last thoughts before we wrap it up?
Nope, that's it. I was gonna make a joke about minority, but I didn't.
Oh, look at you showing restraint. That's new.
See, I'm growing.
Jesus is definitely going to work in your heart, I guess.
Yes. So we'll be back probably next week, right?
Next week, guys. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody on the Canadian side of the border. I know I'll be hopefully eating some sort of lamb curry.
Ooh,
so I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I should invite Drew over.
Hard pass on the turkey for this guy, but yeah. I wish you guys a very happy Thanksgiving. Stay safe and be blessed.
Make sure you bring me some again. Dan brought me some last time.
So. Oh, did he?
I brought him butter chicken, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's
I'll put a question to Mama Chandran.
What's your thoughts on turkey, Drew?
It's dry. but the stuffing's good.
Nice, nice.
Meat stuffing or bread stuffing?
Bread stuffing.
Okay.
My mom makes like a whole extra bowl just for me because I love it that much. Just stuffing and mashed potatoes and put gravy all over it.
No cranberry sauce?
Ugh, ugh.
Oh, guys.
Pass the cranberry sauce.
You
Brutal.
guys, come on.
Brutal.
All right.
Who's the white guy now?
Well, boys, good pod. We'll talk to you guys soon. Have a nice trip, and we'll be back next week, Tuesday night. Probably for you Wednesday. Peace out, world.
Like, subscribe. See you guys.